Hi, welcome to Mental Health Part 3, updated for 2024. So, you need to know these two eating disorders. You need to know the difference between anorexia and bulimia. Anorexia focuses on calorie restriction and exercise. These women, and it is mostly women, about 95%, are not only are they women, but they are middle class to wealthy women. So some consider anorexia to be a culture bound disorder. You won't see that on the test, but it is true. You do not see anorexia in poor communities. You really don't see it outside the United States. And usually they're white. You do not see it in the black community. You see a few Latinas, but not very many. You get a few men, but it's very rare. And I have seen women in 110-degree weather walking around in the heat of the day that look just like this. I have seen that myself. Bulimia. Bulimics are not as skinny. Some are overweight. They do what's called binge and purge. They binge, meaning they will eat an entire large pizza by themselves, then go into the bathroom and throw up. Then they will go back to the kitchen and eat another large pizza, and then they will go and throw that up. And it's really hard on the teeth because of the hydrochloric acid, but yeah. And sometimes they don't vomit, they use laxatives instead so they could poop it out. But that is bulimia. Okay, moving right along. Both suffer from body dysmorphic disorder, which is not on the test, but when they look in the mirror, what they see does not match reality. This very disturbingly skinny girl looks at that and says, I am disgustingly fat. But let's keep in mind that she, in her warped mind, thinks that this is fat, and she's not. This girl in the mirror is not fat at all. That's another sad part about this ad. Anyway, so moving right along. This is not on the exam, but binge eating disorder is when you binge, you eat massive amounts of food, but you do not throw it up. Okay? So what causes eating disorders? Genetic factors, social factors, psychological factors. Remember what I said, it's generally white girls in middle class to rich families. Okay? All right. So take a look at this question. The answer is bulimia. Bo binges and purges. Okay, moving right along. All right, read that. Not an easy one. Make sure that your answer is an actual eating disorder. All right, the answer is C. Mikhail is fasting for Ramadan. Amaya is being bullied. That is not an eating disorder. Nico is just a normal person who wants to lose a little bit of weight, but can't seem to get the diet right. So Amari is the only one with an eating disorder. Okay, moving right along. All right. I did not teach you this, but the answer is B. Sociocultural is this perspective on mental illness where you've got societal causes and cultural causes. Okay. Biological would be like it's caused by a neurotransmitter imbalance or genetics. Psychoanalytical means that it would be caused by something in the unconscious mind. All right, moving right along. All right, I want to show you this trailer.
All right, ready? $2.80 for the pork, $3.50 for the buttered noodles, $1.50 for the roll, and $75 for butter. It's like you have calorie Asperger's. That's not breakfast. Neither is coffee.
You do a lot of sit-ups. I'm not going to treat you if you aren't interested in living.
Good speech. I've got it under control. Isn't it funny? It's a cake. I've got it under control. I've got it under control. You okay, honey? I just got up too fast.
So, welcome to our new house member, Alan.
Hi.
Oh my god.
How do you do it? Eat, I mean.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm really fucking hungry.
Huh? I'm like a ghost. I feel kind of angry. It's my life, too. I don't get to have a sister.
What's going on with you?
I just don't see the point. People say they love you. But what they mean is they love how loving you makes them feel about themselves.
I don't even know where to start with that. There's all kinds of wrong.
The way that you're going, one day you won't wake up.
I can't stop.
Every time you hear that voice, I want you to tell it to fuck off. Fuck off, boys! Somebody tell me why we're here.
Because we're alive.
Very good.
Some of them actually seem like they're doing okay. Like they might get lives and be semi-interesting people.
Did you just say something optimistic?
I did say semi.
All right, so it's called To the Bone. It's on Netflix, obviously, and I just wanted to let you know that it's there. It's a good movie. All right, moving right along. Okay, now, so the only one that's important on here is schizophrenia, but I wanted to share with you some other things, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I want you to know the word psychotic. Psychotic means that you are hearing voices and you are seeing you're seeing things that don't exist, hallucinations, you're hearing voices, and it could mean that you have some delusions, like hardcore delusions. Delusion is, let me tell you what a delusion is. A delusion is a false belief. I'll give you an example. Paranoid delusion is when you think people are out to get you, kind of like paranoid personality disorder, but this could be a lot more extreme, or it could be the same. Delusion of grandeur. Think grande, big, grandeur. Like Beyonce loves me. She is going to come pick me up with her limousine, and we are going to move to Las Vegas, and we are going to spend the rest of our lives together. That is the truth. That is going to happen. She's coming tomorrow. Okay, that is a delusion of grandeur. All right, so delusions, false beliefs, yeah. So that's what delusions are. Hallucinations is when you see or hear something that doesn't exist, like voices. Voices are very common, but also visual hallucinations, like the little girl that follows me everywhere. Okay. So this category, schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders, you've got delusional disorder where you get delusions but without the hallucinations. You get psychotic depression where you're depressed but you have psychosis, meaning you're hearing voices, like Andrea Yates, who drowned her 5 kids. She had postpartum depression with psychosis. But the reason I'm going over that is because I want you to know the words psychotic and psychosis. Okay? All right, so schizophrenia is about 1 out of 100 people. Write this down. So schizophrenia is caused by a problem with dopamine receptors. So you have too much dopamine. Now, you think dopamine is fun and it'd be great, but dopamine gives you awareness. And when you have too much dopamine, you're so aware that you are aware of things that don't exist. Also, when you have too much dopamine, you get paranoid and you start thinking that everybody is out to get you. And so, even if you don't have schizophrenia, you could still have paranoia and think that everybody is in a plot against you and that everybody has malintention towards you. That's what happens when you have too much dopamine. It is genetic, and so that's a biological. All of this is biological. And then you have what are called enlarged brain ventricles. These are schizophrenic patients, and then these are healthy volunteers. And notice these ventricles, these are called ventricles. They're like holes in your brain, and they're bigger in the schizophrenic patients. Okay. All right. So here are identical twins. One has schizophrenia, this one, and the other one doesn't. So wait a minute. I thought schizophrenia was genetic. It is genetic, but it's not purely genetic. But yeah, these are identical twins. One has schizophrenia and one doesn't. Okay. All right. What are the symptoms of schizophrenia? All right. So positive symptoms are things that exist that you don't want to be there, such as hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thoughts. Negative symptoms is the absence of stuff that you want to be there, such as emotion. If you are, honestly, these two seem very similar to me, but if you have flat affect, it means you have no emotions whatsoever. You're just there, like dull. Catatonia is not something totally different, but if you're sitting there and you're just like, let's say you're just repeating yourself over and over again. One time I went to a nursing home and there was this lady who was like, I like Joe. I like Joe. And she just kept repeating herself over and over and over. That's catatonia. You may remember Stranger Things season 2, 11's mom. Okay, she kept repeating those numbers over and over again. That's catatonic. Catatonia is when you repeat yourself and you do the same motions over and over and over again. So these are negative symptoms. Okay. All right. Disorganized thinking kind of confuses me, but fragmented and bizarre and distorted with false beliefs, delusions. Think of it as like static in your brain. Okay. Again, with the delusions, there are so many people who think I am Jesus Christ. You know, they think that. Hallucinations. So look at this PET scan. What's going on? Look at that activity in the back of the brain. You should know that that is the occipital lobe. So this schizophrenic patient is having a visual hallucination. Okay. All right, read that. The answer is delusions. The test taker believes radio news stations are delivering special messages to the test taker. That is a delusion. All right, read that. The answer is that's schizophrenia. Jeremiah is hearing voices, so it's probably schizophrenia. All right, read that. Remains motionless for hours, no matter how awkward the position of the body is in. What is the symptom? The answer is catatonia. Catatonia is when you repeat the same motion or you just stay totally still for hours and hours and hours. All right, other facts. Men get it earlier and more often than women. Most mental illnesses women get more often, but men are get antisocial personality disorder more often. They get schizophrenia more often, but maybe narcissism, but I don't think so. Also, People who live in cities are more likely to get schizophrenia. Now, you either have it or you don't, okay? But if you live in a city, it's going to trigger your schizophrenia symptoms. If you lived a very boring, non-dramatic life and you have the genetics for schizophrenia, it's very possible that you will never get the symptoms. Remember what I taught you in the first, the diathesis stress model. Okay, you may have the genes for it, but you may never get it triggered. Same thing with schizophrenia. They smoke and drink a lot, probably to deal with the voices in their head. All right, and marijuana doesn't cause it. It's probably more just self-treatment. Okay. All right. So psychotic disorders frequently involve perception. That's hallucinations. Okay. How do you treat schizophrenia? Well, since schizophrenia is a psychotic disorder, then you treat it with antipsychotic medications. You don't need to know antipsychotic medications for the AP exam, but Zyprexa, Seroquel, Abilify, and Risperidol are some examples. Now, if you dig in someone's medicine cabinet and you see that, don't assume they have schizophrenia. They might be bipolar. They might have treatment-resistant depression, and don't assume that you see that they have schizophrenia, and they might. Also, TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. On the test, it's more of a test for depression. I don't know if I've ever even seen TMS on the test yet, but it is on the list. They shoot magnetic pulses at your brain, and it does work. It does work. Okay? All right. So TMS does work. It's good for getting rid of the voices. All right. I've never seen this on the test, but neurodevelopmental disorders, that includes autism and ADHD. I'm going to assume you know about that. I really don't want to talk about that. Okay. Now, this is a lot to write down, but this is something that you need to know. And I know I probably need a better slide, but I need you to understand what causes mental illness depends on the perspective. The biological perspective says that disorders are caused by neurotransmitter imbalance. For example, depression is caused by a serotonin imbalance and should be treated with pills. Psychoanalytic, that's an outdated perspective, but they say that anxiety and depression are caused by something in the unconscious mind, maybe anger and resentment that you have repressed in the past, pushed down into the unconscious. Okay, that's an outdated perspective. Cognitive. Cognitive means thinking. So they think that you are depressed and anxious because you are irrational. Okay, so the way to treat your depression and anxiety is to change the way you think. Behavioral. The reason you're depressed is because you've seen other people be depressed and you're copying that behavior just like a Bobo doll. Or you've been classically conditioned. If you have a phobia, it's because of classical conditioning. Or shaped. Maybe there's a reward for you. Like, why are you anorexic? Maybe there's a payoff. Maybe there's a reward, like operant conditioning. Okay? Evolutionary. You have evolved to have the disorder. Think of why you might have a phobia, like trypophobia, the holes, like you're afraid of the holes. Or why do you have a phobia against bugs? Maybe that's because you have evolved over millions of years to be afraid of insects. And finally, sociocultural. Maybe you're anorexic because you keep looking at Instagram and seeing super skinny people and you want to be like them. Or maybe it's part of your culture. When you're poor, nobody cares. But when you're rich, you are expected to be skinny. So yeah, your culture does matter. Okay? All right. That is it for mental illness.